Okay, so while I have been here, if you guys are following the Prime sale days, that is what was going on while I was on vacation. So I had some credit on my Amazon, and I had been eyeing some of the Caran d'Ache solid gouache, but it's a set of 8 for like $35, and that was on sale. And this was a set of 12 for $27, I think. So I went for this. It is a German brand called Pelikan, and I'd heard about them before, but I wasn't sure because there's not a whole lot of videos on YouTube about them. And so I thought I'd try them out and leave them here at my mom's as part of my art supply stash. I do have the Montmartre gouache in tubes here, but yeah, I'd been wanting to try some solid gouache cakes. I guess that's what these are. This little pallet's pretty interesting. It's got a little button right here that you push, and it lowers the bottom portion so that it gives you room to open this up. If you try to do it when you don't push that button, it doesn't really open. And I think that's a feature that keeps it closed when you're traveling or something. It is kind of big. I mean, it's like, I'd say it's at least 10 inches across. But, yeah. So, it looks like there's room for paintbrush put in the center. Kind of looks like kid paints. But yeah, I will try these out and see if they're, I mean, I can't really compare them to the Caran d'Ache ones because I've never tried those before, but I've seen some people use them and they look pretty good. They look decent. But I also got, which I already own at home, but I noticed that the selection of watercolor brushes here was pretty sad. So I got this relatively inexpensive set of the Zem brushes to also leave here for when I come back and do art and paint while visiting. But they come in that little tube, which is really cool because it's a little travel tube if you want to make them into a travel set. But there are, I thought there were 6 brushes here, but there looks to be only 5. I may have left one sitting around somewhere, but yeah. I think they range in size from 2 to 10, so it would be like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Well, maybe there is only 5. Huh. Thought there were 6, but yeah, of course, most likely wrong. So we will be using these, and I'll probably just use the size 8 because that's a good size to swatch with. And I don't know if any of you guys have these particular solid gouache paint cakes by this brand. If you do, let me know if you've tried them, how you like them. Of course, with any brand new watercolor brush, you got to kind of rinse out the stuff they put in there. I think it's like cornstarch or some type of like water-soluble glue to keep the bristles from bending during shipment and stuff, but they do have a little protector on them, so that is how these come. Let's see, it feels like I got it all out of there. Rinses out pretty easily. I usually rinse it twice. So I will be going home tomorrow. This is just my lull before I go out tonight to a local concert in town as my last hurrah of my trip. And I just thought I would do a little unboxing this morning. I don't know, why not? I might upload it after I get home. But let's see, maybe we will swatch swatch on the other side of the swatch we did the last time of the watercolor. Just to use this as a swatch page. And this side is smoother of this Pentalic. That's what I figured out it is. It's the Pentalic sketchbook, watercolor sketchbook. All right, so here we go. First one looks to be yellow. I didn't look up the colors. There's only 12, so it should be pretty easy to figure out what they are. Doesn't seem to be any smell. And they seem to wet pretty easily. Seems like gouache. It looks like there's a little bit of paint on there from the other page, so I am going to flip this page around, get a clean page. All right, so yeah, we're back on the cold press side. All right. So yeah, looks to be pretty creamy. Hope I'm in frame. Ew, I like these. So far. I mean, maybe if all the colors perform like that yellow. I was reading the reviews. Some people were saying that they weren't as opaque. Some people were saying they were too opaque, maybe because they were expecting regular watercolor. I don't know. Some people just don't know what these are supposed to be. I think if I hadn't known, or if I hadn't researched it or heard of them before, I would just think these, you know, and I didn't know that gouache came in solid form. I would just think these were like some type of poster paint or very cheap watercolor, but knowing what gouache is supposed to behave like, and that they do come in solid form. Yeah, these feel and look like gouache. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, I really didn't want to spend. I think it wasn't really about the spending part, because I had the credit, but I wanted more than 8 colors for the gouache, and I do like Caran d'Ache as a brand, but I do think the gouache are labeled as studio, so they're really not light fast or professional grade anyway. I mean, they're a step up from anything else, but this brand seemed to be pretty good, because I don't know, maybe because it's pretty close, like it's a German brand, and I had heard about them before, and I don't think anybody else really makes anything close, so I figured it'd be a good gamble. Now that's nice. That is red, so we got yellow, orange, red, just basic colors. That red seems to be more of a primary, it doesn't really lean either way. And I would assume this next one would be purple or a cool red like a magenta, so we'll see. I'm hoping there's a decent selection of at least one brown. I don't like it when I don't get browns in my sets. Yeah, it's like a reddish violet magenta color. That's nice. Yeah, I like the consistency of these. They definitely seem to be gouache. And what is this next one? If that one is magenta, then this would definitely be purple. They're a little bit raised. You can probably tell the cakes are slightly raised, and they have like a little indent in the center. The indent doesn't seem to be like large enough to contain all of your water puddle in. It kind of goes around the sides slightly, but doesn't seem like it'd be too hard to wear the little mountain down. Okay, so yeah, this looks to be like a violet color. So I would assume the next one would be blue, and then greens, and then browns, and then most likely there's a black. Oh, there's also a little tube of white that they include. So that's another indicator that they are a lot like the Caran d'Ache, because I think they do that too. It has a little compartment on the side for that. And so next we have what I'm guessing is going to be blue. This palette is larger than I thought it was going to be. I don't know, I didn't really estimate correctly when I was looking at it in the pictures. I thought maybe it was smaller, but I'm kind of glad the cakes are this size. It's just the palette itself is a little bigger than I like to use on my desk and stuff. Now the blue, which I do realize is kind of the case for a lot of dried gouache, is slightly more transparent. So if you wanted to make it darker and make it more opaque, you'd probably have to add the black. And if you wanted like a more of a cerulean color, you would have to just add the white and make it more opaque. But yeah, this is the first I've seen. Purple slightly was like this too, but the blue definitely was a little bit more transparent. And I've noticed that even in my M Graham gouache, the phthalo blue is more transparent than most of the other gouache colors, but that's to be expected. Which makes me think that these are good pigments, actually. So let's see. This will probably be either another type of blue that's warmer, or leaning more toward green, or it's going to be green. I'm thinking it's a darker green, and the one next to it is a like permanent green light type of color, because it looks like a light green. It's definitely not yellow or brown, so sometimes I have to deduce what colors I'm dipping into or looking at based on their order or what I know other palettes to be like. So yeah, you guys can tell me what color this is. I'm assuming it's just a darker green than the one I'm about to swatch next. So I believe this next one's probably a light green. I don't even know if you guys can see me wetting these. This camera angle is pretty extreme. I'm gonna flip it in the editor so that it's more front facing than it is while I'm filming it, so you guys won't even know. But it's still pretty angled even when it's straight on. But hopefully I'm in the frame. I'll try to check. Yeah, I think I am. I don't know. No, that's a little on the sheer side, but not terrible. It's light green, so it's not a color I really use a whole lot. I'm gonna try to get that a little bit more opaque. And then we'll see how they dry. They should be like a matte finish, like any other gouache. And I do have like a yellow ochre color coming up next, so I hope my water is clean enough for that. Yeah, it seems like it's all right. Yeah, this is either like a super light raw sienna or a yellow ochre color. Now I assume the next one over is like a burnt sienna and then black. So that's not bad. I usually have like a yellow ochre, a raw sienna, and a darker brown. I can live with that. Not bad, not bad. Overall, I think I'm pretty impressed with these. I really didn't, I thought, okay, I'm going to get these and I'm going to save all the packaging. She's probably going to return these. But no, they're actually quite nice. So it looks like there's 6 in each row. I did. I'm like, why do I have 5 in the first row? And oh, I skipped one in the end. Okay, so next to that violet in the top row, there's another color. And luckily, I left room on the page, so I'll go back and put that there after I do this brown. My bad. So we got burnt sienna color right here. It's brown. And then I'll go back and do that, what looks to be like a cool blue, because then that means that this blue that I swatched over here in the first one on the second row is the warm blue, and then there's 2 greens. So that's kind of a nice balance. We got a warm red, a cool red, a violet, 2 different kinds of blue, 2 different kinds of green, 2 different kinds of brown neutral tones, a black and a white, a cool yellow and an orange. So that's pretty good. All right, so we're going back to the top row, the first row, and I am getting this, what looks to be like a cool blue, maybe like an ultramarine or something. All right. Let me see. Maybe you guys, yeah, I think I'm in frame, so here we go. Just enough room. Yeah, that's darker than the other blue too. It's like a very, very purple leaning blue. There we go. So now for the black. The water is getting a little bit murky, but we're doing black, so not a problem. And I do realize that in gouache, the more opaque colors are usually the warmer tones, and the ones you struggle with transparency are the blues and greens and black, sometimes purples. That's a nice strong black. Wasn't really expecting that. All right. I wonder how I can try out this white, but my water's too dirty for the white. I'm just curious about it though. I think since it's in the tube, I would probably mix it in the tube by squeezing it around first so that the binder, if it's been sitting, will mix. But it feels like a pretty good consistency in there. It feels pretty thick. Maybe I'll do it over this. I'm just going to squeeze out a little bit on top of this blue. Not bad. Maybe we will let that dry a bit. I'm not going to use my dirty water brush on top of it. I just figured I would squeeze a little bit out of the tube on top of a dark color to see the opacity. But to get a real good idea, I'd probably have to let me see, smear it a little bit and let it dry. But it does look pretty opaque. I've got gouache in tubes from cheaper brands before that were pretty sad in opacity. So, well, I think I'm thoroughly impressed with these, actually. I'm gonna get the overhead shot now. I learned from the last time that I did this, I didn't stand back far enough away so that when I flip it in the editor, it has the sides are not cut off. So yeah, that is the Pelikan gouache. If I do come across some color names, when I examined a little leaflet that was inside the box, I will list those in the description. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.